Hey, good morning, everybody. It is the 17th of May, 2023. Uh, just remember, everything I say is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research. The full disclaimer and stuff is in the box below. And so I've been taking notes on things since I finished wrapping up my video on Monday. So let's just get going. I've noticed all over the place a lot of people are making comments and are instituting a boycott against a big box store that carries everything from thumbtacks to groceries to clothing. I think the only thing they're lacking is a lot of automotive things. So, yeah, and they're the ones with the logo that's the big red circles. So I think you know which store I'm talking about that people are now saying to boycott. Because they're now in their children's department carry a line of clothing that is appropriate to wear during the month of June. And the clothing sizes start from infant, newborn infant, all the way to the tweens. Now, please remember, children love to play make-believe. One day a child could be a tiger, a bear, a bunny. The next day they might want to be a fairy princess or a knight in shining armor. It's part of a child's cognitive development for them to pretend to be anything they want to be for a day or a week. And just because they want to pretend to be or make believe they want to be something for a few days, that doesn't mean they're making a lifelong decision. Yeah, a little girl could pretend to be a cowboy and play cowboys and Indians, but that doesn't mean she wants to be a little boy for the rest of her life. So, yes, please boycott the store till they remove this clothing line. And remember that children, they don't know, their brains are still forming, developing. Their bodies are growing. And it's a medical fact that somebody's brain isn't fully cognizant till they reach basically their mid-20s. So why are you going to trust and change somebody's physical appearance, literally through surgery and medical intervention, when they are really not capable of fully comprehending what they're saying or doing? I know a lot of early 20s, I mean, kids in college, they do some really, really stupid things. So, yeah, if anybody's going to make a decision to permanently alter their body, they need to wait till they're at least 21 or closer to 30, because their body has not finished developing, growing, and neither has their brain. So, yeah, that big box store that's all over the United States and I think North America, they have other locations, I think, outside of the United States. So we need to stop shopping there for a while and stop patronizing their online also. Something else that's going on, I mean, I put it on my community page how Blunder, the new mayor of Chicago, what he wants to do. He signed 4 executive orders on his first day in office. And I posted the info on my community page. And now the donkeys are trying to put through a new law stating that all these brand new wetbacks that are heading for New York and Chicago, the donkeys want to give them the opportunity to vote in our local elections. I thought that was a right only for American citizens. Well, I think in the donkey's brain, their logic is thinking, okay, we're going to give them the right to vote. But those that really need and are refugees, such as those coming out of Venezuela, the reason why they're leaving is because the socialist government has basically destroyed the country. And the people who have left socialism and communism, they're not going to vote for a party that promotes socialism, supports Marxist groups like the Barney Loves Mushrooms crew. So, or the wetbacks, they're going to vote in a certain group are coming from not the Americas, but they're being flown in or brought in on ships from the Middle East and portions of Africa that pray multiple times a day facing east. That religious faction has their own idea of laws called Sharia. Now, England already has an issue because many of their major cities have mayors that pray to, well, for them, they pray to the south. People that pray multiple times to Allah. They're invading the United States. The donkeys want to give them the right to vote. So the next thing that may happen in some places that are not well informed, the wetbacks will put into local power a member of their own faith who will then institute Sharia law. They will bypass and eliminate our own judicial system for their religious set of laws. Meaning women, if you walk outside in a top like I am wearing, with your hair showing, wearing makeup, you could then possibly be stoned to death. So we need to keep our eyes on what the donkeys are doing. Because I keep this, every time I see these news broadcasts, I just get this fearful feeling and images of everyday American women being hauled into a court where the men are wearing the red and white head scarf over their head, held in place with a double band of black braid. We're America. Religion is supposed to be kept out of our judicial system, and they're trying to put it in. The next thing I made a note on, people are getting worried about Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, saying that he's lost so much weight. Well, please keep in mind that I'm getting a feeling there is a medical issue, but it's being taken care of. But at the same time, people need to realize he was the youngest child. He was the baby, his parents' last child. And he and his wife, Sophie, were very, very close to QE2 and Philip. Now, especially towards the end of QE2's and Philip's lives, Edward and Sophie were in the bubble. So, and it does not surprise me that, it would not surprise me if the word did come out that Edward was there when his dad passed. And it hit him really hard. And then less than 2 years later, he loses his mom. And because things were held up due to a selfish brat, he wasn't there when his mom passed. So I think he has basically lost the weight due to grief. I mean, give the guy a break. Years ago, people did respect the fact to give a grieving person who had lost a parent, a spouse, a child, a full year to grieve openly. And Edward's been hit with a double whammy. So of all of them, so if he is grieving and he's lost his appetite and he's losing weight, it's more from grief than an actual medical reason. He just needs a little bit more TLC. So those of you who are in the UK, if you do see him at a public event, just let him know, hey, send your condolences. Tell him, hey, it's okay. A lot of us have lost our parents within short periods of time close together, and it's okay to have a teary eyes every so when they spot something that they remember. So if somebody can, just let them know it's okay to grieve openly. Yeah, when I got up this morning, I was able to catch Trevor. And he brought up an interesting fact. Ages ago, especially during Vietnam era, I remember always hearing about the Paris peace talks, trying to settle what was going on in Southeast Asia. Now, why hasn't another country stepped in to try to negotiate peace talks between the Z guy and Vlad? Is it because they don't want to? I mean, something that I've noticed is that the bear country has actually had to send planes, jets up in a scrambled jets, because aircraft from the wine and cheese country and the country that's known for supporting Adolf and Angela Merkel, they've been sending aircraft into the Bears' airspace without clearance. When you're flying across a country's airspace, you are supposed to get clearance from that country. Well, the wine and cheese people and the refuge home of Adolf have been sending jets over into the Bears' airspace without proper authorization. So yeah, the bear country has had to send jets up as a scramble. So that could be possibly why nobody wants to host peace talks, because they're supporting the Z guy. And again, he showed up with something with another head of state wearing his stupid pullover top and khaki pants. And yeah, I think he's been laundering money, especially for JoJo and Hunter. So nobody wants to lose out on their money laundromat. That's the blue and yellow flag country. Now, my favorite Swede did make a comment today about how more and more people are realizing that the 19th version of the sea liquid is now causing more and more freak illnesses that it isn't in people's genetic history. So people are starting to wake up, thankfully. And it may be something they may start pushing for, reparations for having their body damaged. I would say within the next two to 3 years, there will be major laws put in place to provide reparations for the people who are now damaged from the liquid. And something else that I'm laughing about is the FDA is now trying to remove chocolate milk out of the kids' schools here in the United States. Well, folks, for some kids, especially who are in the certain lunch programs and breakfast programs, being able to have chocolate milk with a meal, that may be their only sweet treat in their life. And if this is how they can get them to drink milk, which sometimes is kind of warm at the schools. I remember when I was in public high school and so forth, the milk had, because it had been sitting out for so long, it was on the warm side, and white regular milk tastes kind of gross warm. But the chocolate milk was actually more palatable. So don't take it away from the kids, and call out and make your voice known. Because for some of these kids, this is their only sweet treat that they get in their lives, because at home, they may not have dinner. Okay? Let's see what's going on. Oh yeah, I woke up and yeah, I flip on the morning local news, and the one that's hitting the all over. One of the expressways that is a major commuter route into the city, it's called the Eisenhower Expressway. The inbound lanes were shut down since 5 o'clock this morning because there was a shootout. And because it's a federal highway that's actually going into the city, not only were there Chicago PD, there were county, state, and they had to call in the feds because it took place on a federal highway. And it was just about an hour ago, they finally started allowing one lane of traffic through. So some people were basically trapped on the expressway for about 4 hours. I mean, their cars were literally blocked in. There was no way to get off. So hopefully those people had enough gasoline and were able to contact their employers or where they had to be, saying, hey, I'm stuck. So, but this is, hey, Blunder's now in office, so expect more of this crazy stuff. And the vehicles that were allowed off this expressway, they were right at the point where the side streets to go further into the city, they were going to have to drive through some really nasty neighborhoods. And I hope the city of Chicago was able to provide police presence along the auxiliary routes into the city. Because they would be going through some neighborhoods where a lot of gangbangers like to reside. And another thing I saw on that, there were a couple really nasty traffic accidents over the past 24 hours in the Chicago suburbs. And the occupants of the vehicles were teenagers from the city in stolen vehicles from the suburb. So they were stolen vehicles, and a lot of them were very expensive, high-powered vehicles, and these little teenagers didn't know how to handle a car of that power and kind of caused some major accidents. We also have happening today is the Chicago Police Department is putting to rest their newest angel, Ariana, who was killed last week by some teenagers looking for money for a barbecue. So she is being put to rest today. So I hope Ella is there Ella French, is able to be there with Ariana while she watches her family say their goodbyes. So, and I know there are probably other CPD angels there with Ariana helping her through the transition. Something for all you rap fans. Just to let you know that the charges against R. Kelly, Robert Kelly, he was up on charges in the state of Minnesota, for being the guy who organizes women who have to sell their bodies for money. Well, he was held up on those charges, and the state of Minnesota has now decided not to prosecute because why waste the money? The guy has already been found guilty in New York and in Illinois, so why waste the money for another court case where Minnesota is already deeply in debt, having to rebuild from St. George Floyd's supporters trashing the city of Minneapolis. So they're kind of saving money there. So to all you R. Kelly supporters, yeah, his charges were dropped in Minnesota. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because the prosecutors did find out more stuff about Robert Kelly. But because the charges are dropped, that evidence is now sealed. But that guy is just, in Chicago, is kind of a joke that if somebody worked on one of his music videos and they made it through completely to the end, it was kind of a badge of honor. And I know I was contacted back in the day to find certain vehicles that they could use, and I said, no, open alcohol is going to be allowed on somebody's yacht. And they're like, well, we need people to loosen up. I go, no open alcohol. And you guys need to pay me for me to start doing the looking. You have to pay me X amount in advance. They're like, well, we don't pay anybody till the end. I go, no. Well, that was the last time they called me. And I know there were a few other people that were suckered in and helping them find vehicles and of all sorts for videos, and they didn't get paid. So they were on the hook for paying to the vehicle owners. And you just don't do that. So, yeah. Robert Kelly's now going to be wearing lovely jumpsuits for the rest of his life. I do want to say thank you to Sue, Finn's mommy, for that she is covering accurately Henry's legal cases in the UK. I just want to give some people some to clear up in case you have any confusion. His cases were actually kind of like off to the side because there wasn't enough of this and that. You know how when a court case here in the United States gets dismissed before trial and people have to go for appeals to get it back on a court docket? Well, basically that's what he's doing. He's going and appealing to the judges to get his cases back on the docket. So that's what's going on with Henry, because his trial hasn't even been started. He has to get permission for it to continue. So that's what's happening. And yeah, I am laughing at Fiona's description of what Rachel wore to that award ceremony. Gold bubble wrap. I mean, that is just perfect. Gloria Steinem has her own. She's always been Miss Investigation. I mean, she went undercover working at a Playboy club. She was with some other stuff. And once you work for a certain 3-letter organization, you really never retire out of it. So, I get the feeling that Gloria is playing nice with Rachel just to gather some more information on it. And yeah, it's like Rachel saying, oh, she's getting this Woman of Vision award for her lifelong service to feminism. Okay, bring out the soap commercial. And yes, Rachel's still continuing to trying to trash out Camilla and Catherine and Sophie. And now, and yes, of course, Anne. And now I think she's added Princess Alexandra and the Duchess of Gloucester to the mess. Sweetie Rachel, don't mess around with those women, because they have reached so far out and in so many places that things are going to start happening to discredit Rachel. And if you look hard and long enough, it's going to be traced back to one of these powerful women in the UK. Remember that the Wales have Uncle Gary, and now Catherine's brother-in-law's brother who's able to speak, and Camilla's children, they don't have any titles, so they can say whatever they want whenever they want. So we need to start keeping our ears open and watching for stuff coming from a gentleman by the name of Matthews, Uncle Gary Goldsmith, Laura and Tom Parker Bowles, or Laura Lopez right now. That's who we need to be listening to. And the children of Lady Sarah Chatto. They can talk. They're far enough away from the throne. I mean, those are Princess Margaret's grandchildren. They're close enough to see everything going on because their parents, their mom, and then David Lindley, David Earl of Snowdon, they are Charles's first cousins on his mom's side. So, of course, they're invited to a lot of family events. And their kids are brought along. So they will be revealing some information very, very discreetly. The children of David and Sarah Armstrong-Jones, they're going to be the ones to listen to. Okay, another thing about the UK, Liz Truss has brought up the fact that Mr. Lispy Sunak, he wants to appease China, get a bill of appeasement. Well, Liz Truss is reminding Mr. Lispy about Chamberlain coming off a plane waving a white piece of paper. That's what, 1938? Chamberlain appeased by giving Adolf everything he wanted. But what did Adolf do on September 1st, 1939? That appeasement meant nothing. So yeah, Lispy, those people, yeah, they're talking from both sides of their mouth. If you get a bill of appeasement, letter of appeasement, it's worth the amount of, all it's worth is the amount of ink on that paper. And how much is a sheet of paper now? So it's not even worth what the cost of the paper it's printed on. And I really appreciate Liz Truss bringing this out. No wonder she didn't get along, because she was speaking the truth. reminding people of what happened before in history. Something else, yeah, people are now. I heard this on. I catch some stuff on this one streaming channel, WION. It's out of India, and it is in English because India has multiple languages. I mean, every state, every region has a different dialect of Hindustani. They speak Urdu. They speak a lot. Different languages. So the common language throughout India now, because of the Raj period, is English. So this is there. It is in English, and they're monitoring different hearings from different governments on how AI could possibly go in and mess up the computer systems that are used to record everybody's opinions and choices when we have those big job interview days like that happened on like the first Tuesday in November. So yeah, they're talking about how AI gets into those computers that do the calculations. And that's the first news source, media dispersion source that I've seen that talks about that. And it doesn't surprise me. And something else that I finally also they're now talking is Elon's also talking about AI and how the dangers of it. And now he's being accused of being anti-Semitic because he's bashing Soros. Well, Georgie Porgy, yeah, he's Hungarian and he was born in a Jewish family, but the moment he started affiliating himself with the Hitler's goons during the 30s, 40s, he left that faith and he forgot all about his Jewish roots. So how can somebody be anti-Semitic to a guy who turned his back on his cultural and religious heritage? Yeah, it can't, because the guy basically is still walking around like in his little outfit. I'm surprised if somebody looked, he might have little lightning bolts tattooed under his arms, in his armpit. But no, I don't. By somebody trashing Georgie Porgy, no, they're not anti-Semitic. So people need to watch out. And then finally, this is the first time I've seen it on local news, they're finally giving out air warnings about the smoke blowing down from all the Canadian fires. And that's kind of questionable because we hear about wildfires and starting out in California, really bad fires in Australia, and now they're happening up in Canada. Don't they realize that we need trees to make oxygen, to make clean oxygen? So yeah, something's wonky with that. And now, of course, they strategically have these fires that, well, they flow with the jet stream. So yeah, they gave an air warning today out here in the Chicago area for people that have asthma and so forth not to go outside because the smoke may bother them. So I think I think that's since people are now becoming aware of the liquid for the 19th variant, now they're putting the fires to be like the icing on the cake of the liquid, or to, you know how if you're a bartender, have been in a bar, you know how to layer liquids in a glass. The heavier ones go in the bottom, and the lighter ones you use a spoon to layer on. Well, I think the forest fire smoke is kind of like the icing on the liquid, or to float on top of the liquid. That's pretty much all I've got for you today. Today is Wednesday the 17th, so I'll be talking to you on the 19th. And I hope everyone has a great day, great couple of days. Have fun, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.